Welcome to the Better Agent Podcast. If you're a real estate agent that's looking to grow your business, then you're in the right place. Whether you want to go from 5 to 10 transactions a year, or 10 to 50 transactions per year, or more, well, then this show is for you. I'm Josh Lavik, your host for the Better Agent Podcast, and in each episode, we'll bring you the tools, tips, and tricks directly from myself and some of the best leaders within the real estate industry. We have one goal in mind, and that's to boost your production and elevate your real estate game. Let's dive in and start creating a better real estate experience together. Welcome back to the Better Agent Podcast. I'm your host, Josh Lavik, and today we're talking about growth in your real estate business, just like we always do. And I want to really touch on a lot of great things. Basically, what I love about this podcast is that we talk about not just successes, but also, challenges and failures and bumps along the way. Today, hopefully, I'm excited to share more about that story, both from myself, my own experience, and then also my guest. Today, I've got Timothy Flores with me, who I've known Tim for actually many years as well. We used to work at the same brokerage for a while and worked side by side with Tim, and he does a great business, and I'm excited to hear what he has to share with all of you guys. So Tim, why don't you share a little bit more about your background and what your business is looking like today?
Yeah, well, and like Josh said, I'm Timothy Flores, native Madisonian. I've been here since I was 5 years old, 1989. I went to UW-Whitewater for college and then briefly moved to the Twin Cities to work for a tech startup. I spent about 10 years in digital marketing and lead gen before I was bitten by the Airbnb bug. I started buying properties with my cousin to turn into full-time Airbnbs. In time, it was a no-brainer to get my realtor's license, although I'll admit I never intended to become a realtor. As you mentioned, yeah, Josh and I worked from the same office from day one. So Josh knew me as a rookie long before I knew what I was doing. But, we, had a great program, great training, and a mutual friend who got me into the real estate game. And yeah, we're coming up on 10 years now. I love helping people buy and sell homes. I feel like I get to be a salesman for the city I grew up in as a kid and a bit of an ambassador as well. And so, to be totally honest with you, it doesn't feel like work to me, right? Like I feel like I'm getting paid to do a number of things that I'd love to help people with anyways. And I think that's one of the great things about our industry.
Yeah, you touched on a couple great things that certainly I resonate with. I mean, is that, I think real estate's one of those career paths that there's enough variety that keeps it really interesting. Like every property is different, every client is slightly different, every interaction is slightly different. And, if you're looking for, a little bit of variety in your career, real estate's definitely got that. So
Yes, no 2 days are the same. That's one of
yeah.
the few things that are guaranteed in this business.
Yeah, no, that's for sure. So, but I love that, so you got bit by the Airbnb bug. I think that's great.
Mhm.
That's a great start, right? Because I think there's a lot of people that get started in this business that maybe aren't even thinking about being realtors themselves, right? But maybe want to
Yep.
be just property owners and investors, and they want to find a way to help build additional revenue for themselves or their family and build additional
Mhm.
wealth through real estate. And real estate's one of the best things out there for that, right? You can buy an asset and you can influence it and you can suddenly rent it out and make additional revenue and make it additional wealth and that kind of thing. So when you got into these Airbnbs, did you start making money like right away? Like, was it just like, oh my gosh, this is working? Or how did that work out for you?
Well, it started out as a hobby. I had a two-bed, two-bath condo in downtown Madison, and I decided to throw up the spare room in my condo on Airbnb, really just to see what would happen. And I'll never forget the first request I received. It was from a woman coming to visit her son at UW Madison. He was a freshman. She was coming from out of state, and she was just looking for a nice place to stay for a week. I almost declined the request because I really didn't know what to expect. But as it turned out, she was exactly who she said she would be.
Yeah.
And it was a great experience.
A conversation with me, then go to a betterrealestateexperience.com. You can go there and schedule a free one-on-one call with me, no obligation, and we'll just talk about your real estate business and what we can do to help you grow. Or you can also sign up to join us on one of our future mastermind calls. So again, go to betterrealestateexperience.com. Hope you're enjoying the show.
And then I kept meeting more and more just kind of great people doing this as a hobby. And then one day it just clicked for me that, like, wow, I could maybe go out there and buy homes and turn them into full-time Airbnbs and, effectively rent them out to, families who are coming to visit and traveling nurses and visiting professors and all that great stuff. And so everything just kind of took off from there. I mean, as I said earlier, I spent over a decade in tech startups. I was actually working for a tech startup in Minneapolis when Airbnb became a part of the conversation. It was something that we were all aware of in the very, very early days. I think the company's headcount was fewer than 20 people, but it was on our radar. It was one of the more interesting startups coming out of Silicon Valley. And yeah, I mean, once I couldn't stop thinking about it as a concept. And so yeah, that was really the beginning. And to flash forward a little bit, once I had my license, again, I wasn't intending to work as a realtor, but a husband and wife, dear friends of mine, came to me to catch up and just find out what's going on in life. And they happened to mention to me that they were thinking about getting into the Airbnb game as well. And if I happened to find something that might be a good fit for them, that's something they would be interested in. So later that night, as a joke, I emailed my friends a $1.2 million lake house with a detached 4 unit close to downtown. And I said, LOL, you two should buy this. And you can probably guess where this story is going. And Josh, you might even remember this
I remember
because I
that
was the new
property. I know
guy.
which. I know. I'm pretty sure I know
Yeah,
exactly the one you're talking about. I
yep,
remember walking
you
through
do.
that property actually because it's
Yep,
so unique. For those of you who listening that maybe don't know what it's like downtown Madison, like to have a property with a house, a structure plus a 4 unit, it was like pretty rare. Yeah.
yep.
Yeah.
And yeah, and I'm sure you were one of the few people who, you know, our brokerage office put our sales totals in any given month, and I think I was like number one or number two with that sale alone. And so all of a sudden, people in our office are like, "Who is this Timothy Flores guy?" Right? And again, it was one of the luckiest things to ever happen to me, but it also put me on this path that I'm on now. And I mean, I say luck tongue in cheek, right? Because there was definitely some skill that went into that. There's a reason
Totally.
my friends came to me to help put that deal together. I had great support from our brokerage office and our mutual friend who got me into real estate. And, we just made everything happen. And it opened up my eyes to the value I could potentially bring other people as a realtor. Even though I
Totally.
was a rookie, all of the skills I developed buying investment properties, setting up Airbnbs, a lot of that was transferable.
100%. You know what? I think, you make it sound easy, but like it was one thing that led to another, and you
Mhm.
did something, right? You didn't just look
Yep.
at it and you're like, oh, that's an interesting property.
Right.
You sent this off to them. You messaged them about it. You took the time to listen to, oh, well,
Yep.
we're thinking about this, and you connected those dots. And I
Yep.
think that's a huge part of what the value of a great agent does, right? A great agent is going to listen to your clients, hear what they're
Mhm.
saying, and then take that information. Don't just set them up on some auto search and say,
Right.
oh, call me if you're interested in something. We need to actively do something and
Yep.
say, hey, look at this. I think this might be a good fit for you. And LOL or laugh about it or smile or whatever. Who knows? Who
Yeah.
knows where it could take you?
Yeah. Once we got to the point where they were seriously considering it, I helped them build their financial projection model. I
Yeah.
helped them navigate city zoning. I set up a meeting with them to walk them through the permitting process and how to do Airbnb legally and above board. And not to toot my own horn, but I think even a lot of other highly experienced realtors wouldn't have been able to pull that together because they didn't have the Airbnb background that I did. So that
Yeah.
was the unique value proposition I was able to bring to the table to make something great happen.
Yeah. Well, there you go. Good for
Yeah.
you. So I don't own any Airbnbs. I've not done a lot of it. I've stayed at quite a few myself, but
Yeah.
I'm a guest. But I haven't invested many in myself. Do you still own a bunch of Airbnbs today now as well?
Well, so as it turns out, with that husband and wife couple, we pooled some money with a few mutuals and acquired the Tempest Oyster Bar building downtown Madison in February of 2020. Now, as we all know, COVID hit shortly thereafter. And at the time, it seemed like the whole world was going to turn upside down and we were going to have to maybe figure out how to file for bankruptcy. But we managed to make it work. It was a lot of hard work, it was a lot of pivoting, but we remodeled the units in the second and third floor. We started doing midterm rentals, so 30-night minimum stays for traveling nurses and visiting professors, really as a stopgap. Because again, during COVID, the Airbnb
Yeah.
market went to zero. So we had to figure something else out. and we were able to make that work. And one of my biggest takeaways from 2020, purely from a real estate perspective, is just how resilient real estate is as an asset class.
Yeah.
The whole world was on fire. The economy was shut down. The value of our physical assets actually rose. Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Regardless of what is going on in the world, everyone needs to eat, everyone needs to sleep, and everyone needs a roof over their head.
You bet. Yeah. Housing's one of those things. Definitely
Yep.
needed. Absolutely. For sure.
It's not optional.
Yeah. All right. Well, I mean, that's a great story, I think. And at 10 years in the business, right? So I think what could
Pretty much,
start,
yeah.
I know I talk to a lot of newer agents sometimes, and I think sometimes that first year in the business even can be kind of a struggle for a lot of agents. And I think sometimes you need to just kind of keep going and put enough things out there and use your skill set, identify your niche. Like you identify
Hmm.
that pretty early on, it sounds like.
Hmm.
And there's a lot of agents that don't necessarily have a niche. I mean, I, I've kind of struggled with that. Honestly, I've struggled a little bit because I've done a little bit of everything over over the years. But
Yeah.
I think I do have a desire to invest in real estate, and I own other additional rental real estate as well for that
Hmm.
exact reason, right? To help build my additional wealth and
Wealth,
retirement,
wealth,
that kind
and
of thing.
yeah,
So it's one of
inflation
the
protection.
yeah, I mean, it's one of the best things out there for sure. So all right. Well, let's nice. I like that story. So if you're new and like identify your strength and just keep going. I like that.
Yeah,
All right.
it's
What
your strength and also what makes you unique in the world.
yeah. So what would you say that is for you today?
I mean, I have a pretty colorful background working in tech startups. I grew up in Madison since I was a kid. I have this background in Airbnb and investing. So, I can really attract a lot of different personality types and would-be buyers, sellers, what have you, and find a way to work with them.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I remember it was my second year, pretty early on in 2019. I was helping this couple from St. Louis relocate to Madison. And I'll never forget a compliment the husband paid me, one which I didn't even understand at first. He told me how much he appreciated how well I knew the Madison neighborhoods and the parks and the bike paths and the restaurant scene. And they just had their first kid and they were planning to expand the family. And I almost didn't get it at first. And he paused me. He said, "Well, we're from St. Louis. We don't know the city at all. And it's just great to work with somebody who spent pretty much their entire life here. That just makes the process so much easier." And that was a big light bulb moment for me because, a lot of that is just my personal lived experience, right? I
Mm-hmm.
never really thought that it would be valuable to other people. But once I realized that, oh yeah, if you're coming from out of state or northern Wisconsin, or
Mm-hmm.
you're relocating from Milwaukee, yeah, you don't know the city as well as I do, and that's part of what I can bring to the table.
Yeah. Well, I think that brings up a great point, right? People that are moving here from out of the area, they don't know it, and they,
Mhm.
even if you hadn't lived here your whole life, I mean, I think if you're committed to real estate as a
Mhm.
career, like you owe it to your clients and your future clients to really get to know the neighborhoods, get to know the
Yeah.
community inside and out, and be the resource and be the go-to person. I just got a call earlier today with a past client of mine. He called me up. He's asked for a recommendation for a certain type of like an insurance agent. And so
Mhm.
he knows I'm out here talking to lots of people all the time. And obviously we deal with insurance in real estate transactions. So he had asked me for, a couple recommendations, and I gave him a few. But like the fact that he thought to call me rather
Mhm.
than just go on Google or call whatever, right? And just
Right.
see what Chat GPT has to say or whatever, it's like,
Yeah.
there's a certain amount of value that you can get from that personal recommendation, and people want that. They want to feel comfortable and connected to that. So I think that's a great if you're not being a resource for your clients or your future clients, like put that on your to-do list and like build that vendor list, build that recommendations, get to know the people, get to know the communities, because it will pay you dividends in ways that you don't even realize at first. You already
Mhm.
said it earlier on, right? This guy was complimenting you and you didn't even think about it. You're like, oh, well, I
Right.
just lived here and like that's what I do because I live here. You're like, you don't even
Yep.
think about it. Like
Right.
you're gonna provide value. You're gonna do a great job if you just dive in and know it inside and out. So I think that's a great takeaway for people.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with everything you said there.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. All right. Well, let's talk about some hardships, because I know it's not always super easy, right? That was kind of a fluke. You sent that
No,
off on a fluke and you're like, oh my gosh,
right.
I'm number one in the office. I don't even know what I'm doing. What's going on here? Let's talk about those hard months. I mean, I'm sure there's been at least a few in your career, and or maybe month or whatever it was. What do you think for you? And maybe and I'll go first. How about? So I'll give you
Sure.
some time to think about it. But for me, I was first licensed in 2005. So 2005, that market was on fire. 2006, the whole world kind of collapsed, right? '06, market crash. '07, 8, 9, 10. Like those early years in my business were pretty tough. There were a lot of foreclosures. There were a lot of short sales, but there was also opportunities. And I remember I dealt with a lot of clients, actually a lot of investor clients that were like, there were investors trying to buy these foreclosures, and they wanted to buy them, fix them up, and either rent them or resell them or do something, right? And so, but I was working with a lot of those buyer clients, and I just remember that a lot of it was, just got, for me, what worked well was getting super organized with the client data in my database, right? And like, it was like my number one goal was just, I meet whoever and they go in my database, and I just set a reminder on a such and such a date to check in with them. Hey, and just follow up with them. Like, it's really simple. But like that for me was like, as soon as I was hyper diligent about everybody in my database and everybody I encountered, my business took off, and it was slow and steady, and it just continued to rise. So for me,
Sure.
that was my superhero strength, really, was just like simple, but also it got me through, right? It didn't matter about the market. The market could have been crashing, but for some people that's an opportunity. So I don't know, keep going would be my message for people, right? Like, there's opportunities in any market, and keep looking for it. It's there if you look.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And in terms of hard times, I'll tell you, when the inventory really went off a cliff, more so in like say 2022 and 2023, I definitely hit a rough patch. I didn't have many transactions going. I had a good Rolodex of buyers, but I didn't have homes to match them up with. And as everyone knows, we're working in a commission job, so we're not closing deals, we're not getting paid. And I realized that it was early 2024, I just made a decision internally that regardless of how things are going in the market itself, that I was going to maintain a positive outlook and look for those opportunities. Because when I look back, it's like I survived my first year and my second year and and COVID year. And
Mhm.
so it's like I managed to make it work. And so yes, some years were certainly easier than others. As you know, some quarters are easier than others. But throughout all of that, I was able to navigate it. And so I took that, I set that as a reminder. I burrowed it deep into my brain. And I used that as fuel to get through 2024. And once again, and I'm very fortunate to be able to say this, I never had a down year. Every year has been better than the last. And that may not always be the case, but the mindset I have right now is that 2025 is going to be better than 2024. And that's the mindset I bring to the table every day, every week, every month, regardless of the other challenges that are in front of me. I always try to spot the opportunities and stay positive.
Well, I love that message. And actually, it's totally relevant to this podcast. And the name of the podcast is the Better Agent Podcast. And
Yep.
it's what I believe to my core is like, to me, getting better may not mean that you always have an up year, but it
Right.
means that you're always improving yourself and your business. You're always doing
Yep.
something to get a little bit better every single day. And I've had down years, absolutely. And I've had up years, and I've had down years, and I've had in between years. And and to me, though, what does keep going is a lot of what you just mentioned, right? It's that focus on just continual improvement, getting better every single day, getting better, to find a books, mentors, events, all those things, classes, all those things,
Yep.
at least for me, they fuel me. And if
Mhm.
that's part of what keeps me going in this business, is just that continuous improvement and continuous mindset. So I love that mindset for sure.
Yeah.
So very cool. Very cool. All right. Let's I don't know. Anything else on your mind that you think our listeners would find interesting or valuable or helpful, based if they're an agent looking to grow their business and they're doing whatever they're doing, a handful of transactions, maybe they're new and looking to get to 20, 30, 50, whatever it might be for them. What would you say to that agent?
I think that one of the pieces that I may have underappreciated in my first year and grew to certainly develop in my second year was how emotional our industry is, and that it is just as important to support our clients emotionally as it is tactically. Buying a home, whether you're a single person or a couple looking to start a family, or maybe you've already got a few kids, it's a big deal. I mean, this is one of the biggest purchases of everyone's life. And not only not only do we educate our clients on the process, but we're also there to support them. We are their rock. Josh, I know you've been through this probably significantly more times than I have. Oh, and actually, you know what? This is a good segue because it involved both of us. The
Okay.
first transaction Josh and I did together, I want to say it was December of, was it 2020, or yeah, I think it was 2020.
Okay.
We had a transaction. You were on the listing side, I was on the buy side.
Okay.
We were a couple weeks from close, and there was an issue with financing. There was an issue with the bank, and there was a point at which it didn't look like it was going to happen.
Okay.
The lender told my buyer that they didn't think it was going to happen. And what I'll say is, I knew it in that moment, and I knew when I called you. I told my buyers, hey, Josh is a guy I've known since day one. I don't know how we're going to save this one, but I know Josh and I are going to work together to figure something out and make it happen. And we did. And like, not only are, and I had to keep my buyers calm throughout that entire process, but they trusted me, and they trusted the relationship I had with you, that you and I were going to put our heads together and figure it out. And I mean, one of the things you and I ended up having to do is we ended up throwing in a big part of our commission just to get it over the finish line. But I don't mind working for a smaller check. And I know you didn't either, right? We both did what was right for our respective clients, and we got it across the finish line for everyone, right? When you have a great agent on the other side of the transaction, you can really make things happen, even if you hit some hard times or even if you hit some unexpected rocks, right?
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think, yeah, that's, I do remember that now. Holy
Yeah,
cow. Yeah,
it's a long
that was
time
a tough
ago.
one. That's
Yep.
and I've had to deliver hard news a lot. And I think,
Yep.
as a good agent, you need to sometimes do that, right? You have a deal that's falling apart. You have financing falling through, or they
Yep.
do the inspection and everything. They find a bunch of stuff wrong, and like, that's bad news. It's hard news. And, as an agent, you have to just be confident that you need to share that, and you just have to
Mhm.
go and be as honest and transparent about that as possible. But yeah, no, I love that mindset though. We did come together and we did whatever we could do and tried to find a good solution for them, and it didn't end up working, so that was
Mhm.
awesome.
I mean,
you
it
know
was a great way to end an otherwise pretty miserable year.
yeah. Yeah, it reminds me of, so one of the books that I recommend to a lot of people is this by Chris Voss. It's called Never Split the Difference, right? I don't know if you're familiar with that at all, but
I've heard of it. Yeah.
yeah, so it's a great book. I think everybody should read it, honestly. And you might think it's almost like too aggressive. Never split the difference. What do you mean? We're not allowed to split the difference? And it's like, maybe you can split the difference. That's fine, but that's not like if you're just going straight to that as a default mechanism, that's maybe not the right strategy. But anyway, what I love one of the comments he writes about in the book is that, you really, when you're in a tough interaction, right, a negotiation, right? Hey, I got to deliver this bad news, or hey, I had a horrible inspection, or whatever. But getting to that same similar mindset where the
Mhm.
person on the other side says in their mind, that's right.
Mhm.
And when they say that's right, meaning not you're right, not like I'm right, but that's right, meaning we've got a meeting of the minds. And that's, I think, what you and I did, right? We had a meeting of the
Mhm.
minds, and we're like, hey, how do we solve this? How do we get this across the finish line for all of our parties, for the buyers and the
Yep.
sellers, for everybody? How do we make this a win-win? And it's sometimes hard to do, but I think if you can approach your interactions with your potential buyers or sellers or any negotiation or anything that's harder like that, like just with going for that kind of mindset of like, look, I'm not going for just me to win. I'm going for a mindset that we can both
Right.
find the win, where we're both like in the same mindset and thinking about that emotional piece, because it is emotional. It's hyper
Yeah,
emotional and it's
absolutely.
but if you I've had many interactions with clients where like they might be hyper emotional and I would just even reiterate what they're feeling, even naming how they're feeling. Oh, I can understand how that would feel, whatever it is. And so I think you're identifying with that component to just try to turn the volume down a little bit if it does get heated or if it does get whatever. So I think
Yeah,
that,
and just a reminder to your clients that we are there for them, regardless of anything else that's going on, whether that's in the transaction or their personal lives or
yeah.
the financing or the inspection or whatever it is. We're the rock. That they're allowed to be as emotional as they want to be. It's potentially their home, it's potentially their move, right?
Mhm.
But we're the steady hand throughout the entire process.
Yeah.
And oftentimes we're in a position where, we're the only ones who can be that.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure. Oh man. Yeah, it's an emotional process and it's sometimes even yeah, sometimes it's you don't want to think about it that way, right? Like especially if you're looking at like an investment property, like well do the numbers
Sure.
make sense? If the numbers make sense, I'll buy it. Well, even that can be sometimes emotional. Like
Hmm.
how is that asset, how is that investment going to impact their
Hmm.
lives? Like
Yep.
how does that impact their family and their true wealth? And like if you can tap into that somehow, like that's gold, man. That's gold for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Right on. Oh, I just had an idea about something, but it, I didn't spit it out fast enough and it went somewhere else in my brain. Yeah. What oh, okay. Yeah, I got it now. Here we go. Yeah. All right. So it's 2025. It's not 2024, right? Your trick in 2024 was you had to shift kind of that mindset, right? And have a more positive outlook.
Hmm.
Like, you know what,
Yep.
regardless of the low inventory, regardless of the high interest rates, right? You gotta
Yep.
come to work every day, have a positive outlook, a positive frame of mind. Super important. What's working for you today, this year? What's work? Because you had mentioned you're having an up year. You've always had an up year.
Mhm.
This year, good year. What do you think's working for you today?
Well, I'll tell you, the biggest thing that's been working for me today, and the biggest thing that worked for me in 2024 was a combination of past clients returning and referrals.
Yeah.
Like that's when you've done such a good job that your clients come back to you in the future, whether they're looking to move away, upsize, downsize, make a lateral move, what have you, and then send their friends to you as well. I mean, that's been really cool. If I recall, and I think this is advice that came from you a long time ago,
Oh,
that once you've done over 300 transactions, if you don't want to, you don't have to spend another dime on advertising because if you've done a good job and you've stayed in touch with people and you've continued to be a resource, they're just going to keep coming back to you and they're going to send their friends and they're going to send their family members.
yeah. I don't know. I don't remember saying that exactly, but I know that.
It,
Yeah.
it, it was along those lines.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think there's that law of the database, right? And
Yep.
I have always been, like I said, hyper focused on just always adding to it, building to it, setting those reminders, the follow-up touches, all those things. And, and a large part of our business is past client and referrals as well. And that is not by accident. It is by
Right.
intention. And it's
Yep.
because we do continue to stay in touch and we do continue to do host events for past clients and just remind them, hey, we're here to help and be a resource for recommendations and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I think it's all those people, but I think yeah, you don't need to have a 10,000 contact database to be successful in this business. Absolutely, you can do it with 300.
Yeah.
How deep are you with those 300, right? I mean, if those 300, you could have, even if 10% of them, even if 30 people out of those 300 were your quote unquote raving fans that recommended you to other people, you got say each say 30 recommend you to one person. There's 30 transactions right there. I
Hmm.
mean, and you didn't
Yeah.
spend, what did you spend? Whatever you're going to spend to stay in touch with and nurture those people.
Right.
You know,
Exactly.
you can buy the next Facebook ads or Google ads or send out postcards or whatever you want to do, or you can maybe do something for those people, for those
Yep.
300, for those 30, for whatever it might be. I mean, I
Yeah.
think there's lots of,
And the occasional handwritten note of appreciation, something authentic, something from the heart. People appreciate that in this world of digital communication and texting and what have you.
yeah, for sure. I love that. Totally. Absolutely. No, that's a good reminder. No, I mean, we've done past client events for a long time, and that has always been something that, was part of our follow-up and plan. And, I
Mhm.
used to write a lot more personal notes and handwritten notes and than I do now. And might be, thanks for the reminder. I might have to get back to that.
Yeah,
Because
absolutely.
I think
Absolutely.
it is impactful. I think it's impactful for two parties. One of the things I remember about when I used to write a lot of handwritten notes, it would just impact my day. I would start my day with just a gratitude and like, I'm
Mhm.
grateful for whoever I'm writing this to. And so how much better is my mindset, my positive outlook that right in the morning if I start my day with just that handwritten note of
Mhm.
appreciation to whoever. So, you know, whether and it'll impact them as well when as soon as it's opened, right? More so
Yeah,
than an email or a text or whatever.
right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. It won't get lost in the shuffle the way a lot of digital communication does.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. No, I love that. Very cool. Awesome, man. Well, Tim, anything else on your mind before we wrap up, or anything else you want to chat about that you think our listeners might be interested in hearing?
Well, I mean, I think it's been a great conversation. I think we've
Yeah.
touched on a lot of great points. For anybody who's listening, it's like the shared history that Josh and I have together is
Mhm.
definitely appreciated, and the transactions we've done together, and the transactions we'll do together in the future. I do think that it's important that agents reach out to other agents from time to time and just have these like little touch points and connections. I think there's a perception that we're all just like kind of hyper competitive with each other, and that's really not true in my case. Rarely are we ever going after the same clients,
Yeah.
or fighting for each other's business. There's plenty of business to go around. So to try to have that like grow the pie mentality and mindset, stay close to your sphere, stay close to your past clients, be a great resource, both to your past clients, but also the other realtors in your community, because you're going to cross paths eventually. And it's just best to be on great terms with everyone, and just have that, both that growth mindset, but also just that service orientation mindset.
Yeah, for sure. I think those are all good takeaways, good points. And yeah, being a good co-bro, good person on the other
Mhm.
side, right? Because if you're in
Yep.
this business long enough, 10, 20 years, however long it might be, you're probably going to come across each other again, right? More than
Yep.
once. Okay.
Absolutely.
And
Without a doubt.
yeah, without a doubt, exactly. And you want it to be a good experience all around. Yeah, you want to fight for your client and everything they deserve, not at the expense of everything. And no
Right.
deal is worth your reputation. That I
Right.
believe, you want your reputation to be good, and you want to do what's right for the client. But yeah, being a good co-broke is more than I guess this will be my plug, more than just a text message or an email, right? Like
Mhm.
sometimes it's making that phone call. Hey, I saw you have this listing. My buyer's interested, right? And I can follow up with a text message or an email. But like sometimes that personal phone call, you'll learn more in that personal phone call, I would argue, than you will in a text or an email. Yeah, exactly.
That's exactly right.
For sure. Cool, man. Well, hey, I appreciated this conversation. I appreciated the dialogue. A lot of good reminders about really the basics in this business, right? I mean, it's a
Mhm.
relationship business. You're there to provide value, right? You see a property that you think your clients might like, don't wait on it. Send it out. Make the call. Send the message. Go, even LOL, whatever. Like, be real, but identify that. Be, host events. Do what you got to do to stay in touch with your past clients, and they will absolutely send you referrals and send you business, and you can grow your business 100%. I believe all these things.
Absolutely.
Very cool. All right, Tim. Well, hey, I appreciated our dialogue today, and I hope I got a lot of value out of it, and I certainly hope our listeners did as well, and I'm sure they did. And if there's anyone else listening and you find value in this and you think you want to hear more about it, then tune in next time to our next episode, where we also will talk about growth in your real estate business and help you grow as a person and as a business owner. So. Again, you're listening to the Better Agent Podcast. I'm your host, Josh Lavik, and I'm here with Timothy Flores.
Been great, Josh. Thanks.
Very cool. I appreciate it.
Thanks for tuning in to the Better Agent Podcast. I hope you found today's insights valuable. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a review if you enjoyed the show. Stay tuned for more tips, Q&A sessions, and sneak peeks into our 21-day challenge. To get full access of our show notes and more details on the 21-day challenge, go to abetterrealestateexperience.com. Keep striving for greatness, and I'll see you on the next episode.